Welcome back to another edition of the Pocket Locker podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, good people, I am in airplane mode. All right, gang. Let's talk about this. So, a lot of y'all know that TYT, which is one of the larger platforms or channels in the self-proclaimed leftist. All right, they're a quote-unquote progressive channel. Okay, not really, but a lot of y'all know they have been in a bit of a tailspin now for a while. Basically making hard grifter turns to the right and all sorts of problematic behavior from primarily its two main hosts, Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur. Well, there's been a bit more unfurling as apparently Cenk and Fran have been going at it for a while, back and forth, having their own little tiff. And apparently Cenk has banned Francesca from the show. And she's made a video responding to that. And I think it's interesting because it gives certainly some more inside perspective on the shift and changes at TYT. So it's kind of an interesting catch up or piece of content in that regard if you didn't know what was going on. But also, it kind of reveals to me something that I think is a much bigger problem. Like, way bigger problem than just TYT. And that is what I am calling the paternalism of the left. And so that's what we're going to be getting into. And appreciate y'all for checking me out. Again, don't often get to do these weekday streams, but had a great stream on Tuesday and happy to be here with you guys tonight. Lena's in the house. Always happy to see Lena. Actually, I was kind of chilling in my room for a bit, but I had this awesome experience today, which is like I left my computer and my speakers and everything on, and then I came home and there was like stuff playing. I was like, what's going on? And it's almost like somebody was like here, like doing something. Like if my girlfriend snuck over or something weird. But actually it was Lena playing content and Gather. And it was super cool because it felt like I have friends in my life and I came home to activity in the house. It was nice. It was nice. I almost forgot I live alone for a hot minute. Always good to see the main man Wayne here. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. All right. Oh, and Sue's here. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Let me get my other scene going. Bang. There we go.
You know when you meet someone and they swear that all of their exes were psychos, and then you slowly realize that, oh wait, I'm talking to the person who was the problem in the relationship? Unrelatedly, the Young Turks. And I'm going to make this as brief as possible because there are a million far more important and pressing things going on right now. As you know, actual fascism. But to make it brief, Cenk Uygur, the head of TYT, recently hath forboden me from appearing on any TYT shows because, in part, I said that him capitulating to right-wing framing on many issues meant he was, quote, acting like a bitch. And the truth is, he was. And I'll explain that a little bit later. But first, some backstory.
All right, so yeah, huge ego trip, real problem. Most this is crazy, but like let's just be clear, yeah. And this is part of the problem. This is like our first sort of hint at this paternalism, this idea that people literally just want to bend over to right wingers, and then when they're called out for it, rather than doing any sort of real self-reflection or thinking about the very valid criticism, often coming from a person who is not in a position of power, be they a member of a marginalized group, or in this case, one of your contractors or your employees, somebody who's literally up under you. And instead of recognizing like, wow, you must be really feeling something if you just feel like you have to be honest, that you feel like your boss is acting like a bitch, and then again, like, sure, you don't like being talked to that way. You can certainly exercise your authority to end that person's opportunity. But it's a real issue, especially when the game we're talking about here is not being the manager at Staples or making sure orders get served in timely fashion at a burger joint, but we're talking about politics, we're talking about people's lives, and we're talking to people who have platform, and ostensibly their platform is engaged in the politics. It is engaged in the real issues that are affecting our lives, and we're in a very precarious time where there's some real fucking shit happening. And if all you're going to do is get butthurt when people tell you, sorry, actually, we don't think you're going about this in the best way, you need to just get up all the way out the game, because you're already fucking cooked. But I got news for y'all. Pretty much the entire fucking left is fucking cooked, because the entire fucking space is dominated by people, I'm just going to say it, from the majority culture, who don't understand that they have bought into the mythology of the cultural superiority of that same status quo in dominant culture. You are letting people who got to where they are because they were the most barbaric motherfuckers this planet has ever seen. Untold barbarism. Let's just do a quick 101 reality check. The reality of how these motherfuckers came into power is so inhumane, cruel, and obscene. It is such a source of deep, deep national and global embarrassment that these motherfuckers don't even want to teach children about what really happened, because they're that ashamed, and they know the only responsible thing to do would be to tear this motherfucker down and have a fucking revolution and rebuild this shit from the ground up. Their barbarism was so extreme, they are trying to wipe out history education so people don't have to learn about it. I'm dying if I'm lying. And now you're going to do the thing where they sit up here and act like they're so fucking civilized and they have the superior intellectual culture and they're the people of reason and rational discussion, and everyone, we came up with the idea. Y'all believe that shit. Y'all literally believe when the white man tells you he came up with the idea of equality. Go ahead, tell me you don't. Because you let the motherfucker run around celebrating, acting like he did. Y'all act like really we owe the idea of equality and freedom to Western civilization. Anybody smell some bullshit? And now you're going to sit around and tell us that the way to take power back from these motherfuckers is to be nice, hold their hand, stroke their fucking ego, and tell them what wonderful people they are, and that we're sure this is just a big misunderstanding and they never meant to harm anyone. Get a fucking clue.
Story. So I have been a contractor at TYT for 10 years now, appearing on all of the shows as a fill-in host, as a guest host during election coverage, on the TYT main show, on the Damage Report, and on Indisputable, along with a lot of other shows. I have always hopped on at the last minute, always helped out in a pinch. I guest host last minute, and yes, I was paid. And if you're watching this and you are a TYT contributor and you are not getting paid, stop going on TYT until you do. I've never been a full-time employee.
Isn't that shit crazy too? Like, by the way, Sumami, yeah, that is literally $1 million question about the entire TYT lore. Who the fuck thought that name was a good idea? But yeah, it's so interesting that like this is like known, like we just accept the fact that again, the people who are ostensibly supposed to be running a progressive outlet that's supposed to be a counter to the fascism of the right also think it's perfectly fine to exploit labor. To the point that like former hosts have to go on there and say to other contributors, you know, you really shouldn't show up and work there if they're not going to pay you, right? Now think about that shit. What the fuck does it say about the goddamn situation we find ourselves in? And then again, some of y'all are so late to the game that you're just discovering TYT and like you're super excited about it because you think you just literally found the wellspring of actual progressive media. Wow, y'all see how far behind we are? This is crazy.
I never got healthcare. Never got maternity
Never
leave
got healthcare,
when
never
I
got
had my
maternity
child.
leave.
But
How
back
the
in
fuck is
2018,
that okay?
I was hired for a 6-month contract to pilot a show
Real progressive.
for $3,000 a month. Then, however, their funding bottomed out and I was let go. And they broke their contract. My reps at the time thought I should sue to get the full 6 months of payment and work that I was owed. But I didn't, because I told them that TYT...
Nah, Hitchens didn't give a shit, Wayne. Hitchens was a fucking asshole too. I, you know, intellectually admired the guy, but his politics were dog shit, and I don't think he couldn't escape them demographics, y'all.
was good people, and I wanted to maintain my relationship, and I did. That is until things started to turn for TYT politically. And this started happening around the pandemic. Around the pandemic, Anna Kasparian...
Wait, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you real quick. Good to see you, bro. Hope everything's fucking everything, man. And of course, hope you enjoying fucking WrestleMania season, AEW, all that good stuff, man. And hope everything's good with your program and all that shit, bro. But it's crazy. Mark Reed and Ember were reviewing a Christopher Hitchens versus Al Sharpton debate, you know, and that whole scene is a whole issue in and of itself. But it was really interesting to reflect on, like, now, of course, you know, because they're doing the creationism evolution type thing. And of course, in terms of those issues, you know, I agree with Christopher Hitchens, but I was talking about how much as a person, I much prefer Al Sharpton, right? And I have animosity towards Al Sharpton. I'm not a big Al Sharpton. I just think that whole black preacher, civil rights leader trope is tired. And the fact that like every time, you know, you're in a position to celebrate or take a step forward towards black liberation, you cloak everything in the Christo-fascism of the religion of the white man that enslaved our ancestors. I'm sorry, black Christians, y'all just need to hear what it really is. And I take deep issue with that because what the fuck does black liberation even mean if we're literally not free in our minds of a myth that was forced upon our ancestors who were stolen and forced to leave their religion now. And now y'all want to sit around and talk about, is Christianity true? Table that conversation for now. But the point is, when it comes to the issues of those civil rights, which are far more important, I fucks with Al Sharpton before I fucks with Christopher Hitchens, right? And so that's the nuance and complicatedness of all of this.
seem to become focused on the issue of homelessness, especially in a city that I used to call home, which is San Francisco. She had an objectively scary
Yeah, I
experience with
agree,
an
Tsunami. Look at me forgetting. No, I agree. And it's kind of part of what I'm trying to make my message, and I'm trying to make it palatable. But look, there's a lot of bullshit that comes with the cultural hegemony of the status quo. And it's time for people who that's all they know and that's all they understand to shut the fuck up and get in the back seat. It's really necessary that y'all show up and that you're finally emotionally invested in the struggle and all that good stuff. But the issue is that because you are a reflection and product of that dominant hegemonic culture, you lack the perspective to understand how these issues play out over a much greater time. Like you're new to the game, right? And yes, like most people new to a passion or hobby or going through a personal, spiritual, social, emotional awakening and all that, all very legitimate, all very powerful. And again, we are happy you're here. And that's the other challenge. Don't be so fucking fragile that you can't understand when you're novice. It's like me. I play Pinochle. I would love nothing more out there than to teach y'all how to play Pinochle. And I can do that. Matter of fact, people have suggested to me that I write a book about Pinochle. But guess what? When I go every Wednesday and play with my dad and his friends, I am playing against people who have been playing Pinochle longer than I have been alive. Do you want to know what the results are? I get my ass whooped like crazy because there's levels to the fucking game. And although I understand the rules and the basic strategies and some shit, they know all the little ins and outs, all the little fucking situations. And so I am constantly fucking up and losing and blowing games because, again, people who are far more experienced and far more seasoned players can exploit my lack of experience. And so when I'm there, I'm the fucking rookie. I shut up. I'm there to learn. And literally after every hand, like almost every hand, I'm like, what could I have done differently? What should I have done differently? Am I the reason we lost that hand? Am I the reason we didn't save? Should I have and we sit there and we all talk about it and analyze it and break that shit down like we're basketball team, like breaking down film. And so my point is, like, I'm really happy that y'all have that novice enthusiasm and that you're passionate and you want to tell your friends and you want to spread the good word and you now down for the fight. But you got to understand you're the rookies. You're new. And it's time to listen to some motherfuckers that have been dealing with this shit their whole lives, or some motherfuckers that have really cultivated expertise over a number of fucking decades, really getting involved in some shit, or some people who are experts in the history, or some people who understand the struggle by generations of lived experience. Okay. The problem is y'all show up brand new and then want to turn around and tell all the motherfuckers that have been here really dealing with this that we got it all fucking wrong. You've figured out what the real situation is. And now we all need to model ourselves after you if we really want these people to actually grant us the humanity that they fucking owe us. And what it turns into is you have nothing but fucking criticism for the left and everything's on us, and you won't turn it around on them. We're going to talk more about it. Let's keep rolling.
House person. And in fact, I went back to see when she told her audience about this. And I do remember the day that Anna told the story on air. In fact, I was also on after she told that story, but I didn't hear it at the time.
See, Sumami on that real shit. I don't think they're ever willing to get in the back seat. I think that's why sometimes you have to just talk louder from the back seat. Sometimes that's all you could do. That's all you could do. And literally that's the feeling. Me and PC were talking about that in Gather one day. Like it feels like, maybe me and Robin, like we're on a bus, like we're on that runaway bus and we're just in the back and we can't do anything. Like we're just yelling and screaming for our lives as they drive the bus off a fucking cliff.
Was within an interview that she was doing with an author by the name of of Michael Schellenberger, who had written the book San Francisco.
Cheers, gang.
Why Progressives Are Ruining Cities. Instead of focusing on housing market prices, on how homelessness often leads to things like addiction and mental illness, Schellenberger focuses on Democrats who thinks go too easy on the unhoused. I remember that I jumped onto the show right after he got off, after that interview.
All right, so this is important backstory because a lot of people think that the whole TYT blow up or thing, everything started with Anna Kasparian's birthing person's comment. And for those who don't remember, it was like she made a tweet about not wanting to be called a birthing person and how could people not realize how dehumanizing that was, and she's a woman and da 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 da. And of course, that was just her adopting right-wing framing and carrying water for transphobes and bigots. And when called out for it, she doubled down in epic, historic, and gross fashion. Okay. And but no. This is part of a longer term thing that predates even when I watched TYT. Right. And I remember that because I was, I found TYT, post COVID and all that. And, thought it was pretty cool. And then as I was like making more friends in the community, people who were, more knowledgeable about these things than I was, because I wasn't paying too much attention, didn't care that much. But people who knew were like, nah, because people had already kind of seen them make their turn and start headed in the wrong direction. And I eventually figured it out for myself. But you do hear sort of this deeper thing when people were starting to realize, like, where did this turn start? A lot of it was around issues of unhoused people, and then sort of Anna's personal experience. All right.
And the TYT audience was really pissed because they felt like the framing and the platforming of someone like Schellenberger was a disservice to the issue of homelessness, mental illness, and addiction. Anna apparently took that as the chat downplaying what happened to her rather than how the issues were presented. She's since gone on right-wing shows like Glenn Beck, Piers Morgan, and Jillian Michaels, among others, to retell this story. And
it's particularly tragic every time, because I think anytime anybody discusses it, they always express sympathy and compassion and disgust for what happened to Anna, and what an awful experience that was. But again, people are typically very clear that they also then have a problem with the way that the resulting sort of fear-mongering, quite frankly, there's no other way to put it, is a total disservice to the issue and the people affected. And then again, the inability of people on the left who have crowned themselves the savior of everybody else to meaningly reflect on when criticized is just it's incredibly ridiculous. And I hope people are kind of smelling what I'm laying down, because this stuff is not just happening to sort of in the political media space of like independent content creators. Like, that's a problem, but it's been the way things are in the mainstream media. And then as we filter down into our neck of the woods through, the atheist content sphere, and all the conversations around faith and debates and all that type of philosophy bro nonsense, it's all that shit. And then all the way down to the fucking shit that we see in even our small community, our sort of neighborhood, our neck of the woods, with the fact that everybody that tries to grow in this space does the same fucking bullshit. So that's where this is going, is that hopefully I see everybody and go, oh, I see what he's talking about with TYT. Okay, then motherfucker, then do you see what the fuck is going on in our backyard?
Use it as rationale for why she feels the left left her, that maybe she's never been left, why she's politically homeless, or politically unhoused. Since then, she's gone on to cover critical stories from a right-wing framing, like the alleged
Yep.
takeovers of buildings by Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado, like the mentally ill, undocumented man in Los Angeles, who was found lighting fires, but who was not responsible for the wildfires themselves in January. Throwing progressive mayors like Brandon.
And again, like it's so interesting too. Like we'll target that, but nobody wants to say anything about the fact that when those fucking wildfires started, how many motherfuckers immediately insinuated it was punishment for sin. Please act like y'all didn't hear that narrative. Please tell me you didn't hear that narrative. And which side was that narrative coming from? That's the problem. That's the problem with all this reach across the aisle, reach around bullshit. The other side is not stupid enough to play that fucking game. And if you're stupid enough to think they are, you do not deserve to do this for a living. You are a student. You need to sit down, shut the fuck up, and learn. That's the problem. You are trying to be a leader in an area where you do not, you either refuse to see or you are too incompetent to see what is actually happening.
Brandon Johnson of Chicago under the bus because he listens to teachers too much. Anna's actually really skilled at what she does. So
yeah,
the laziness with which she treats these stories really just stands out all the more. Let me give you some backstory, though, of Anna and my friendship. We've never been close, despite a hike, a dinner,
great to see you,
the
Carrie.
time that
Miss
she
you.
generously gave me a gift for my new baby, and then explained to me that she was going to debate Ben Shapiro because, in her words, she, quote, felt she could win over his audience. Two moments with Anna stand out for me in terms of how I've always treated her. In 2016...
Y'all know we about to hit it with that rewind. This is what I need everybody in this community to hear. Need y'all to hear this one.
A dinner, and the time that she generously gave me a gift for my new baby, and then explained to me that she was going to debate Ben Shapiro because, in her words, she, quote, felt she could win over his audience.
Boom. Boom. I wish I had made a Michael Beverly cut so I could just play that over and over again on a loop. Felt like she could win over his audience. Felt like she could win over. She felt like she could win over his audience. Felt like win over his audience. Win over his audience. Win over his audience. What we gonna do? We gonna win over his audience. Win over his audience. Win over his audience. Win over his audience. What we gonna do? We gonna win over his audience. That was kind of a banger. I ain't even gonna lie to you. That kind of went hard right there, actually. But y'all see what I'm saying about? Y'all hear it? Do you hear it now? You hear the paternalism of the left now? Oh, we're gonna sit down with the fascists. No, it's not because we're fucking grifters and we don't give a shit and we're willing to sell other people's humanity up the river so we can get more clicks, likes, and more of that sweet algorithm money. No. We're doing it because I know the person we're talking to is a fucking absolute Nazi wall who like thinks that most of my friends deserve to die, but their audience, the type of people that consume that fucking hateful, vile nonsense every fucking day and live off of it like it's fucking oxygen, their audience. We're gonna win over his audience. Win over. We're gonna win over his audience. Win over his audience. Win over his audience. Y'all fucking stupid. You ain't winning over nothing. And then the fact that y'all then treat the rest of us like there's something wrong with us for telling you, fool, that ain't even about to happen. His audience has no interest in being won over by you. And I hate to say this, but y'all some dumb motherfuckers. And the right wingers see it. And in reality, they're disgusted by you. Because you're fucking cowards. And you're arrogant. You are arrogant enough to think that my enemies don't really hate me. They're just misunderstood. and you think that they're so dumb that they don't full well know who they fucking don't hate, that they aren't fully cognizant of how they're playing the game and how they go about moving in the world strategically to get their needs met, to make sure people like them are in power, to make sure that the game is rigged so that they win. That's what they're about. And they realize how fucking pathetic you are, that you think that you're so much smarter than them, that only if they were as smart as you and they realize what you realize, they'd think like you. And no, you're the fucking idiot. The one who insists it's all just a big misunderstanding, and really they're great loving people, and they really do in their hearts love everybody. It's just that they've just been a little bit led astray. They've just fallen a little bit into the wrong information ecosystem. Exactly, carrying gaslighting. And also, you have made a critical error in your analysis of power dynamics. Power is wielded institutionally. It's about who's running shit. So when you need to change the power structure, you have to change it by dealing with the institutional authority. Y'all are fucking treating it like it's a fucking revival. Like this is fucking mission work, and that the plan is to win over hearts and minds. Don't hit me with the bullshit. Yes, I know populations are made of individuals, but we can never achieve what we are trying to achieve collectively by placing the burden on the marginalized people to win over their oppressors one person at a time. No, we have to look back and see what our oppressors are doing collectively, and then collectively move against to take their power from them so that they can't marginalize us any further because they are no longer in positions of power over us. I don't give a fuck if you change the mind of your racist uncle. It does nothing for me.
Two moments with Anna stand out for me in terms of how I've always treated her. In 2016, I was working with AJ Plus, and we were at the RNC. I had just started going on TYT a little bit and meeting everyone. And TYT was there, and Anna was there, and she was frustrated because she hadn't been booked on many appearances on camera, and instead a panel of men mostly clogged up the day. I stood next to her and told her how annoying that was, and just tried to build her up in solidarity. Then in 2019, we went out to lunch in Los Angeles at an awesome spot that she knew of. And Anna confided to me that she was frustrated about leadership at TYT. How she wasn't involved in day-to-day decision-making, and how Cenk viewed her more as a kid sister rather than a co-equal partner. And at the time, she wanted to branch out on her own and do videos on a new channel. I implored her at that moment to stay. I said that it's always women that tend to walk away from organizations, even when they've helped build them up to the point that they're at. I told her to fight for more of a decision-making role and to not walk away. And she did. And it looks like the editorial decisions that we see being made at TYT are in part because she now has the reins.
And that's deep. That's a pretty deep cut right there. Like I said, there's going to be some kind of interesting backseat insights, but I think that's definitely obvious to people, especially on the main show. The issue, I think, it's kind of interesting. I think maybe Cenk had some initial reservations about giving Anna more of the reins, but he's worked through it, because I think the initial, if you watch them for a long time, you know that there used to be like a sort of tension where it was almost like Anna was always trying to be a little bit more progressive than Cenk and kind of push him on issues and challenge him in ways. But now it's like you know, she made her turn towards the right. Now she's got more of the reins. It's almost like now they're kind of reinforcing each other in that direction. So all quite interesting stuff. But I'm gonna just let this play out a little bit more, and then I'm gonna show y'all this other thing I want to comment on.
In a way, I'm proud of her, even if I don't like the coverage. In November of last year, in an effort to understand where Anna was coming from and why she was doing what she was doing, I invited her to come on my show, The Bituation Room. She agreed, but also told me that she had a family emergency that sounded bad, and I told her to not worry and that we would find a time in the new year. That week, she went on Glenn Beck's show, and it kind of puzzled me, to be honest. She obviously now is likely not going to come on my show, in part because Cenk did.
Carrie, what is
and I wanted
that?
to talk to him about his own very cordial conversations with the right since the election or re-election of Donald Trump, in which he tells various figures from Charlie Kirk to Patrick Bet David to Tim Pool to RFK Jr. lover, again, Jillian Michaels, about how he agrees that the left is often cruel and too extreme, saying that at a time where people are literally being disappeared for their political beliefs by this right-wing agenda. Anyone can watch the discussion. I put it in the link below, and it's honestly just a really disturbing portrait of his very with me or against me mentality. I even foreshadowed in the video the idea that he would boot me from TYT one day, and he did. It was also staggering how much he was shadowboxing with me as some kind of stand-in for the max left that has lost their minds. In that video, he laughed at me for suggesting that Trump would create detention camps. After the discussion in December, TYT main show never asked me back on. And then when I made a harmless little video pointing out that yes, there are detention camps, that seemed to be one of the final straws. Personally, Cenk and I were never close. In 2022, I think we went out to lunch and he asked me if I wanted to work with TYT full-time. And it gave me pause. Look, I work with a number of outlets. I am a stand-up comedian. I value my free time, and I have my own show. I wanted time to do those things, but also I pay through the nose for things like healthcare, and a little bit of job stability would be amazing. I also know how hard the company works people who work there, and I know how it treated the union drive. I also know how much they deny full-time employees bonuses every year, even when they're delivering millions of views. I know that they're kind of cheap, and Cenk usually doesn't like it when people negotiate with him. So I said, sure, I want to work for TYT full-time, but it depends on the offer, which, by the way, you should always ask for an offer before you pledge loyalty to anyone or any company. An offer never came, because in my view, loyalty wasn't a given. All this to say, I'm not sad to leave TYT behind, especially now, with, of course, the exception of the Damage Report with John Idarola, who I care about and I think is so talented. But we live in a time of right-wing monsters, authoritarians, and yes, fascists. And anyone capitulating to their framework about human rights, about policing, around militarism, is not serious about liberation or democracy. Please, never watch anyone who can't admit when they're wrong. Never watch anyone who tells you that their strategy is right and that they are the way, the truth, the light. Never listen to anyone who doesn't have a sense of humor when they are acting like a bitch. I am one person with a scrappy YouTube channel who pieces together my annual living. I have a fraction of the following of TYT, which is a $1 million media company. The idea that they choose to focus on me or other leftist creators in their field is honestly really disheartening and very revealing. Look, I wish the best for the people of TYT, but as for the main host,
yeah, he's definitely a union buster, huge union buster.
I kind of just wish them peace, because it's been a long, long road with many skeletons in many closets, and honestly,
I see.
I don't think they know where that road is going. And it's going to be really sad when they respond to this video or try to smear me as if there weren't so many other pressing things to talk about. But I just had to get it off my...
All right, so that's the Fran situation, right? But that whole thing, okay, and I want to revisit one of the main stories there that was really kind of hit on this for me, and the deep manipulation of it. She talked about, you know, me and Anna were not really that great of friends, despite, you know, these few instances of quality time we spent together. And then remember that story. She gave me a gift when I first had my child. Okay, now that's an incredibly powerful, life-changing experience. You find yourself in an incredibly emotional state. You just had a baby, your family's growing, whatever, right? Okay, and then boom, I give them a gift. So now you've given me a gift. So now I'm in a position of thanks and gratitude, and also you're kind of like the big shot and the more powerful, influential figure where we work. So there's a bit of a dynamic there, and okay, like, oh, this is so great, thank you, and then boom, by the way, I'm about to do a show with Ben Shapiro. Yeah, I think I can win over his audience. Y'all feel that Christ the fascist love bombing right there? That like I'm gonna just butter you all up. Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna go play poker with Hitler. Well, like by the way, I'm gonna be throwing down with the other side. Hope you're cool with that. Gang, how deep of a fucking manipulation, fucking mind game is that shit right there? Also, so you can then do this self-congratulating that you're gonna go deal with the other side, knowing good and goddamn well ain't got nothing for us. All right, now let me get into the part that's gonna make y'all uncomfortable, because I see this shit everywhere. I'm so sick of seeing it in this community. I'm tired of seeing the debates with the other side. I'm tired of sitting down with the philosophy bros. I'm tired of it. All that conversation shit, bullshit, y'all. That conversation shit ain't nothing but more debate bro bullshit. The debate bro bullshit got tired and played. They literally didn't have any other ideas. Literally, and it could not figure out a different sort of way to engage people. And so then they decided, well, let's just keep doing the same things. And they were shitty debates anyway, and none of them actually looked like debates. So let's just call it what it was. Let's just conversate. And the wheels on the bus to go round and round and round. And y'all dumbasses sit up here and literally go, well, you know me, I don't like debates. Those debates there are debates done. Yeah, I don't debate, bro. Debate. Yeah, we're not debate, bro. I like that. I just like to have the conversation. Let's just sit down and chitter chat. Bro, we ain't stupid as fuck. We knew a debate was at least an exchange, a conversation with some implied and assumed antagonism. You've just given yourself permission to hang out and make content with the other side and just leave the antagonism out of it altogether. Now you ain't even really got to go at them or challenge them on anything, because we're really just here to chop it up. We're just chit chatting over coffee. And then the thing is, y'all be so on y'all fucking high horse about the bullshit, which I hate to call this, but this is what I say with this community. This is the adult Bible study crowd. This is the adult Bible study crowd. And so what y'all do is y'all say you see all the harmful things of religion and it's brainwashing people and it's bad for our politics and it's ruining our country. You say you see the problems, but you want to be buddy and friends in pen pals with the motherfuckers who are the source of the problem. Literally the fucking people who think they're they're driving the ideas. You want to sit down with the thought leaders of fucking fascism as long as they'll give you a good Bible study. Hey man, as long as we're gonna have this really dope conversation about objective morality, because you know when marginalized people are at the tip of the spear, they sit around and they go, pause before you before you fire me for being a DEI hire and take my housing from me and try to make it so that I got to show 4 forms of ID to vote. Do you believe in objective morality? If so, what's your standard? But y'all want to sit down with all the fucking big bads, and you will take the humanity of the marginalized group and all that shit you say you see. You say you see all the problems their ideology causes. You see all the problems. You'll set that shit way over to the side So you can have a productive back and forth about philosophy. And when we say, nah, fuck that, that's some bullshit. Now all of a sudden we're too emotional, we're too aggressive, we're making everybody uncomfortable. This is a problem. So let me go ahead and put it to you like this. How many of y'all, real talk, want to be the next Alex O'Connor? That is the fucking problem. And you go from being the cosmic skeptic to, oh, Alex O'Connor, look at me at the Oxford with my bow tie on, and look at me sitting down with all the big fascists. Oh, look at me sitting down with the Connectleys, and look at me, I'm talking to Ben Shapiro, and I'm talking to the Archbishop of Canterbury, and oh, look at me, I'm on Jubilee, the most enlightened centrist fucking bullshit on the goddamn planet. But be real with me, y'all. That's your fucking ambition. That's your model. That's your dream in life. That's what you're trying. And you don't understand that most of the people who are really affected by this shit, we're trying to tell you that's fucking horseshit. I can't stand this motherfucker. If it wasn't for the fact that YouTube, recognizes that I make content about the same topics that this motherfucker talks about, it's just fucking whatever. Oh my goodness, I'm unsubscribing. Fuck. Gosh, it drives me nuts. All right, so look, this is what I got into the other day. So Christy Burke made a video about the unlikely alliance that can save us, and this grand appeal to all the lovely, wonderful Christofascists out there. And she pinned this very interesting comment at the top of her video. I'm always surprised by the number of subscribers I lose when I make videos promoting unity. Tolerance is a paradox, but many on the left care little for nuance. We are angry, and rightfully so, but anger often blocks reason and rationality. People don't fit into boxes, and assuming the worst will always make you miss the best. We have to learn how to reach across the aisle. We have to learn how to speak to the hearts and values of others, not just those who think like us. We have to get smarter if we want to grow our numbers. Which numbers, bitch? Which numbers? Because I recognize the little play on words there. We want to grow our numbers because we want more people moving in solidarity with us. But I think you told on yourself a bit. I think when you said grow our numbers, you meant grow our numbers. Now let me tell y'all the problem with this shit. You don't see how hypocritical this is. Let's face it, Christy Burke, and this is true of a lot of y'all on the left and whatever, and you're making your content. To some extent, y'all are exploiting this shit. Let's be real. When shit gets really, really bad for marginalized people, it gets really, really good for your content. And most of y'all, again, are perfectly willing to set our shit aside and sit down with the enemy if it'll help you fucking grow. Now, to her fucking credit, Christy Burke, I think is a really, I think she's, I'm a fan. I like her. I think she's a good person. I think she's trying to do the right thing. I'm using her as an example because I do think she's a well-intentioned person who just, again, is new to the game. But she just had a blow up. She just had a big blow up of her channel, largely because she went to town hall in her conservative right-wing redneck town and had a little spat and confrontation with her elected official and got pulled and got removed. and was protesting, and she captured the whole thing. So first off, you just got a huge blow up for being actively antagonistic, for speaking out, for trying to shout somebody down, for really really trying to take the fight to somebody. And that got you mentioned by bigger leftist content creators. Oh my goodness, look at Christy Burke. You became, your video became the, look at this lady, look at this white lady who protested, and they removed her and they put hands on her. Like they actually physically escorted her out of the place and da 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 da. Which again, cool. Like, yes, you showed up on the right side of history. You spoke up on the right side of history. You even did the thing we are constantly asking people to do. You spent your privilege. You used your position in society, your eloquence, your education, your resources, your standing as a member of that community. You're somebody, you're being somebody who belonged in that room and had autonomy in that room. And then yes, your social media presence and your online following, you brought all of those things to bear to speak up for marginalized people and do the right thing. No jokes, no problems with it. All claps. Did a good thing. Did a good thing. In my estimation, did a very good thing. But you profited from it. It was really great for you. Literally, you now, boom, look at y'all. Thank you for 100,000 subs. Woo, woo, look at my YouTube silver plaque. And then you turn around and immediately start woke scolding. Oh no, really, I want to use my newfound popularity and my newfound large audience to say no, actually, and now you back to Frank Turek style, and you know, again going and rolling up on conservatives and having the conversations at protest and recapitulating that whole content cycle, and then got the nerve to tell everybody else, don't be so angry, we need to reach across the aisle. And then look at your criticism. But many on the left care little for nuance. Hate to say it, but you just had your glow up and you are already trying to pull up the ladder behind you. And then trying to make yourself a martyr. I'm always surprised by the number of subscribers I lose when I make videos promoting unity. Could that be because people who were drawn to you because you were fucking resisting these people, because you were calling out their fucking nonsense, because you seem to recognize the harm that they did to people, particularly marginalized people, and no self-awareness of the fact that when we resist, when we speak up, we don't get fucking silver YouTube plaques. We don't get mentioned by larger channels who talk about how we're their fucking heroes and oh my God, they're so great. Go make sure you subscribe to Jay Bundy. We don't get that. When y'all speak up again from a position of privilege, you get all the praise and adoration. Oh my God, it's so wonderful. When people who actually live through the shit speak up, why are you so angry? Why are you like this? Why are you so upset? You're making people uncomfortable. It's too emotional. If you don't like us talking to people, if you don't like the tone of our conversation, if you don't like it, you can leave. Show yourself the door. Now look, one other thing I want to address. I've had the conversations with people. Lots of us have. This isn't about doing a fucking purity test. The question is the motivation. The question is the execution. The question is who should be doing the engagement, why, and how should they be doing the engagement. Now I'm gonna say something for those that are looking for your little clips, or you wanna call me out. Go ahead, get ready to clip this. I feel differently when marginalized people engage in those conversations. You can call me a hypocrite if you want. Go ahead and clip it. Or you can fuck with me and you might think about it and decide there's something to what I'm saying. Number one, you create a situation where this becomes demanded. Again, y'all have this, the hegemony, y'all have the cultural authority, y'all set the table. And so when you create a culture that demands this type of engagement, that demands that people have the conversations and they have debates and that they engage with these people, and then when you do it, you will not bring these issues to bear. You will not go there. You will not actually fight. You will not actually call these people out. You will not do what needs to be done. You leave people who deal with these things on a different level almost no choice but to actually then go do it and show you. The other thing is, again, y'all won't ever get in the fucking back seat and let the motherfuckers who really go through this shit or really understand this shit drive the fucking car and lead the damn dance. So then what happens is y'all be in there with the other side, making friends, making amends, and then coming up with a whole roadmap and game plan together. And then we got to jump in the shit like, nah, fuck that. I'm not having this. I hate to break up your little love reconciliation fest here, but that's still a motherfucking enemy. Fuck him. And if you care more about winning him over than you do sticking up for the motherfuckers that are actually being oppressed and need you, fuck you too. It's like, perfect example was that whole William Freeman shit. Like, me and Maya literally had to call this person out in our community, again, as fucking, two of very few black voices in the fucking community. And we also had some LGBTQ people who also, don't have a lot of representation speaking up about the fucking clearly racist shit that was happening in front of us in this community. And all people did was talk about me and Maya like fucking dogs because we had the audacity to say that somebody literally trying to associate the image of a black person and a raccoon might have been doing a racism. And what happened? We dealt with it in the chat. We tried to leave it alone. But every single fucking content creator in this goddamn community did a fucking stream about it. Hate to say, it was all fucking white boys. And y'all did streams about it. James did a stream about the shit that lasted literally all fucking day. Every day for like weeks, it was some other person doing a 4-hour fucking panel discussion to break down the whole thing. Usually, no lie, all white people just getting it. And people were doing so much crazy shit. William Freeman would be on his channel in his fucking spaces with his fucking right-wing racist friends, laughing about how they were manipulating the people in our community. But of course, y'all don't ever fucking watch them and like really like figure out who the fuck you dealing with. You literally take their bullshit when they come up in your space and then try to like act polite for like half a second. Yeah, y'all have no ability to see through their fucking bullshit. So they were literally on their own channels in public on YouTube in videos that were recorded, laughing about how they manipulated our friends and how they knew what they did was racist and they knew they were just trying to like turn these people on each other and they would fucking laugh at y'all and make fun of y'all, and then y'all would do streams with them afterwards and let them keep fucking manipulating you. And for weeks and weeks, me and Maya were the only motherfuckers who didn't say anything about it. We were the only motherfuckers who didn't make any videos about it. So then finally, I did make a video to address it. Why? Because I literally heard people in this community decide. I heard white men talking to the fucking bigots, deciding with them, y'all, that what really happened wasn't that racist. And I quote James Apperson, well, we already decided that wasn't necessarily racist. I'm dying if I'm lying. The white man said to the other white man who knew it was racist, well, we already decided that wasn't necessarily racist. That motherfucker went right back to his community, his own goddamn channel, laughing out loud about how he knew it was racist. So I finally had to make a video when I went into his channel and fucking stirred the pot because I knew his ego couldn't fucking handle it. Got him to admit he knew it was racist and then call me a nigger to my face. So yes, I then had to make a video to show y'all dumbasses that of course these motherfuckers knew it was racist. They called themselves they're running around calling themselves the fucking cool coon crew or something, literally using KKK. Y'all thought that shit was fucking cute. You're gonna literally say, oh, well, we decided that wasn't racist. And then I had to make a video. Think about that. Think about what it is like as a black man to have to go into a community of fucking bigots just so I can record them being fucking bigots, literally them calling me a nigger to my face. And then rather than that being one of the worst fucking things I have to deal with, like the fact that somebody literally just called me a nigger on the internet, I have to broadcast someone calling me a nigger to my face so that the white people in my life who are supposed to be my fucking friends will go, oh, shit. Maybe that was racist. That is why we're sick of the bullshit. And Christy Burke, it's the same goddamn thing. Why don't you tell people on the right that they care little for nuance? Why don't you talk to people on the right about how they have to reach across the aisle, how they have to learn to speak to the hearts and values of others, not just those who think like them? Because you know they won't. You know they have no interest in reaching across the aisle. They have no interest in the humanity of people that are not like them. They do not want to share power. And they refuse to. And you know it. And so instead of holding their feet to the fire, and again, dealing with their institutional impact, I don't care about their personal opinion. You are falling into their trap. They know that they can play, again, weaponized plausible deniability. If they can get you to believe that this is just a misunderstanding and they're ignorant and it's just their values and it's just the way they were raised and they don't really know, then they know they can play you. All they got to do is keep playing dumb, keep playing ignorant, and then, you know, appease you. And when you leave, they carry on with their business. And that's the problem, is that you have no sense of understanding where other people are coming from on this. There's a reason that you lose subs when these things happen. Because you put yourself into the position of authority and basically invalidate the lived experience of the people who are actually their enemies. I got news for you. If you think you can love your enemies, I hope you are sincerely telling me something that reflects your spiritual and theological commitments. Because when it comes to power dynamics and human relationships, if the solution is loving your enemies, you don't have enemies. If you are setting aside a spiritual or theological mandate, again, if you can love your enemies, they are not really your enemies. If you being nice to them is all it takes for them to no longer want to harm you, they weren't really committed to harming you. You got enemies, they're not, they may be people you disagree with, people you have a different thing, but they ain't fucking enemies. I've had enemies. My enemies would take my life from me. Even in competition, we understand this. We understand when I line up against the opponent, it's me or them. Only one of us is leaving here with that trophy. I want to make sure I leave with a trophy. They want to make sure they leave a trophy, and you can't split the baby. And sometimes in life, you cannot split the baby. They fucking hate us. We didn't decide they're our enemy. We didn't wake up one day and decide, you know what would be great? If my life could be dominated by the fact that I'm black, and if the fact that I'm black could just take opportunities from me and be all types of shit, and black people could just literally be hated throughout history all over the goddamn world. Because what? I think it's fashionable to be angry. I think it's cute to be outraged. I am really thankful that there are people who see the awful things happening in society and how it hurts people, and they want to be a part of the solution and not the problem. But if you show up, congratulate yourself for figuring it all out, being so smart that you realize that it must just be a big misunderstanding, congratulating yourself for being the peacemaker, and then scolding the affected people for not being willing to reach across the aisle to the people who want to hurt them. You are the person who goes to the kid who is being bullied and tells him he needs to be more understanding about the home life of the motherfucker stealing his lunch money. And you need to fucking stop. This is not going anywhere. Welcome to the fight. Welcome to the struggle. It's going to be a long, bumpy ride. And take your ass a seat in the back of the bus. All right, y'all. Love y'all. I'll catch y'all this weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks to all the viewers. Thanks to the mod squad. Hit us up in Discord or gather. I love y'all so much. Stay strong. Thank you. Thank you so much for